Hello, everyone.
It's Tim and Katrina.
Yay, the both of us this time.
Because we have something for both of us to share together, praise report.
Praise report. That is good.
Yeah, so this story, well, I guess you could say it starts 3 decades ago. I've had autoimmune disease for 30 years between ulcerative colitis and then Hashimoto's, where basically one is where your immune system's attacking your colon, and the other one is where it's attacking your thyroid. So my body doesn't like itself.
And you got rid of one just to pick up the other one.
Yeah, I thought it was all done when I cured my colitis, but nope, just went to another place.
Yeah, God helped heal the colitis, so that, thank God, is gone.
It was very encouraging nonetheless. Yeah. And you have had adrenal fatigue since you were a girl, to the point where she tells me stories that when she exercised, unlike normal people, she would not be energized. You know, most of us feel like this runner's high and invigorated. How did it feel for you?
I felt totally wiped out, and I was still pushed to keep going because it was healthy for me.
Yeah. Family business and all that, so it kind of wore her out. So she's been sick ever since I married her, and I married her anyway. I was thinking I could fix her with my raw food diets.
Everybody thinks they can fix the one that they're marrying.
Yeah. This wasn't a good way, though.
Yeah, it was.
I was trying to fix your health.
And I thought maybe you could do something about it too. And some things helped a little bit for a little while, but never.
But the raw food diet we found out is not good for people with adrenal problems, nor is fasting. Fasting heals a lot of things. Adrenal fatigue doesn't heal it.
It's one of the weirdest things. Adrenal fatigue is one of the weirdest things. You have problems with vitamins.
Oh, yeah.
Exercise does not make you better. It actually makes you worse if it's too strenuous.
Yeah, it's frustrating for me, and it's frustrating for all the friends that we've had that have supplements and other things, trying to help Katrina, and she gets opposite reactions like of their testimonials. So it's
even a doctor friend of ours from college, who's very kind, wonderful, wonderful man, tried to help me out. And I'm so strange with the things that have gone on that he said, well, I don't know anymore. You must need to cast something out. I don't know.
Spirit of infirmity is what he said. Yeah, and then people say, even the medical profession doesn't recognize adrenal fatigue. They say that's in their head. It's psychosomatic, right? And
very few doctors understand adrenal fatigue.
So thankfully, we're in this time of the internet and knowledge expanding. There is pockets, just like you may have heard with the book of Revelation, there are some people that understand that now.
Just a few?
We have also people that are really good with the body, that if you can find them, they can help you. So we've been blessed that we think we finally found an answer. We both of us have just learned to cope with our chronic conditions. With my thyroid, I'm losing my hair, I'm gaining weight, water retention, can't sleep through the night, haven't slept through the night 8 hours straight for 10 years. And you put up with being cold all the time, hungry, peeing all the time, to put it bluntly.
Having to sleep a lot. Yeah. Be very careful. Stay very calm and even. I've had to make sure to get closer to God and work in faith instead of in fear and stress.
Yeah.
And that's been very good. It's pushed me into God. Learn how to trust in Him and patiently wait upon things and not try to be that type A personality of trying to fix it right now and save it right now.
Yeah. What lessons we both have learned from our conditions. And I know I've prayed and I had, like I said, God delivered me of ulcerative colitis. And I know He listens, but it took 20 years. And I had this prayer of faith, and this is going to come up again, where I knew it was done. And I said, God, I'm done with this. I was in a flare for 2 years where, I was not passing normal bowels for 2 years straight. It was not in remission. And I said, God, this is done. 2 years, enough. I prayed, and I think I have this testimony somewhere else. He led me to an answer that just wrapped it up very quickly. Not a problem anymore. So I know what that's like when you come to the end and you just have that strong emotion that this is over and I'm done. And God, I'm not mad at you, but I think you'll agree that we can move on from this. And He did. So we got to that point, I think, with this too. We went through the trial last month with Zachary in the hospital, and we learned a lot. And it felt like this was leading up to my birthday. It's coming actually in a few days, my 50th birthday. I've been having this sense for a while now. I don't care about my birthdays, but I have this sense that God was telling me, care about this one. This is your 50th. It's not trivial number. It's not a trivial birthday like maybe some others are. So I said, okay, I'm going to get excited about this. And we're inviting some people over. And a lot of things have been happening leading up to it, right? We've been having a lot of intense healing, a lot of intense talks, starting with the hospital, but continuing since we got home.
It's never stopped. Everything seems accelerated, and it's quite nice. Father's showing up everywhere in all of our connections with other people, with things coming together.
We're re-looking at everything that we're doing together in the house, rearranging furniture even.
Right, to make it more simple, to be able to take care of things and be able to do things that really we feel called to do instead of just trying to be maids.
Yeah, just maintain and keep getting things done and ignore what's not ideal around us and between us.
Yeah, with Zachary as well, we need things to work elegant because he's extra work. And we'll get absolutely nothing done unless we figure out a way to make things more simple for us.
And healthier for him and find a way to fit more therapy for him into our life. So we had to relook at everything. This just has kept on going in all areas, and it's brought a lot of great fruit, including, we think, a healing. So, an answer to our health issue. We've learned with our chronic issues to just take it to God in faith, and if God's not leading us to full answer yet, then God knows best, right? And not be angry at God.
Been really tested on that because through the years, I've been frustrated and trying to fix it and putting money out for it in different forms of different therapies, believing that there are open doors and walking through them, and it's only been allowed to go on for a few months, and then we don't have the money to keep it up.
Yeah.
And then getting frustrated and wondering if I did something wrong for it to close down, and then regress back into having even more troubles. And then the guilt that comes from that.
The complaining and then the blaming of your spouse for not doing enough and not caring enough, right?
You go through all the cycles. You want to go through all the cycles of trying to deal with something so emotional, because when you have health issues, especially chronic ones, even a little relief feels like just that drop of water you needed when you were so thirsty.
Yeah, well put.
Trying to learn how to not complain in the middle of it and be okay with partial healings that happen over a period of years, and even not getting scared in regressions and just trusting that God knows everything and he just adores us and loves us and gives us all the answers we need right now, everything we need right now. Yeah. And that's a faith statement I have had to come to just be able to make God right and make my life right.
That's right. So we've talked about this in other podcasts. So this is some things to explore. If you look in those Disconnection with God podcasts, we talk about these things. I really believe that motto, what you resist persists. The more that you complain and fume and anger about God not healing you and your spouse not helping more, the more that's going to continue until you work that out and get your eyes on God. Except that for the moment, God's not agreeing that your chronic issue is a need to be removed. It's just a want. Want versus need. Well,
it seems for me anyway, it's been that the chronic issue is obviously not necessary to get rid of until I have learned how to really trust in God. Not just trust in myself or have expectations on other people to save me. And he doesn't tell me this. It's not like he says, by the way, you're doing it wrong. It takes years of prayer and staying slow and finding out what doesn't work.
It's not working.
A bazillion different things that don't work that finally put enough arrows in what does work. And picking up scripture and seeing the patterns in scripture of how people have made things work. So discernment goes up with time. But the discernment happens in the middle of a bunch of things not working. That's the bummer part of it. And that just takes time to grow up.
Yeah, it's a slow process. It's painful. There's a lot of frustration. You get relief. I've had partial healings of my colitis before God got me to the end. And like, what's up, God? And you've had supplements that have helped you. And they're unsustainable. They're too expensive. They're in New York City and we're in Costa Rica. So you get this little, like you said, taste of water, and then you can't continue. So you learn through the process, okay, there is a possibility. God is showing me that there are answers, but he's not giving them yet. And fully. There's more for me to maybe learn before he's going to give me the full answer, because the answer's available. He knows my needs, or at least this is a want right now. So you start to put it together that God is kind of, I don't want to say withholding, but God is not helping you to resolve that issue yet, because it's like with Paul and the thorn in his flesh.
Yeah.
My grace is sufficient for thee. He didn't take it away. So that's a great example for all of us. God's primary motive or directive is not to relieve us from suffering and solve every problem. There are things we learn from the suffering.
I think the biggest thing for me, I think this is what Father was teaching me, the biggest lesson.
What's that?
There's many other ones, but I think for me, I came from a place that life was pretty tough. All through my life, I've had dramatic things happening, and I felt sorry for myself in some ways. I would puff up and I'd try to fix it, and I would, onward Christian soldiers type idea. I was very, type A, get it done, try to fix it, do the best I can, and then God might show up, when he feels it's time. And what was underneath all of that, though, was sort of a complaint, like maybe I was a second-class daughter and I needed to do it well enough. So part of it was performance-oriented, being that I must do it well enough for God to show up. But the biggest part of it underneath that, what was really feeling that, was a complaint, saying that what was being provided for me was not enough.
Yeah.
My childhood wasn't enough. I didn't get the best clothes, whatever. I had to work.
Your husband wasn't doing enough.
I didn't get to sleep. My husband wasn't doing enough. I have a special needs son. Woe is me. All of those things was a form of complaint.
Yeah.
And I think God was showing for me personally that he folds his arms when I complain. Yeah. When I complain, it's kind of like, okay, do that as long as you want.
Hold your breath and turn blue.
Hold your breath, turn blue, have some nervous breakdowns, do whatever you got to do there. It's not going to work. And I still love you. It's just that's not going to work.
This is not good for you yet for me to give this to you. And that's one of the things I say is God is not going to give something good for you if it's not good for you yet. He gives you good things when they're good for you.
Yes.
And he doesn't give them to them when they're going to spoil you and short circuit or shortchange you from a lesson that you really need to learn. Because you said you want to love God and love your neighbor and be like God. And this lesson is going to help you get there. So,
well, I went further. I've always told God, even from a young age, I want to be 100% folder.
Ah, good.
In the scriptures, it talks about
me too.
People that
30, 60,
develop
100.
30, some 60, some 100 fold. And I told God I want that. So if I want that and he wants that for me, and I mean it, then he's going to make it more difficult for me with these things not working, because it will get me to where I want to be.
Yeah, that's right.
For other people, they may only want to go so far. And there's nothing, if that's as far as you want to go, you still make it. You still have salvation. It might just be easier for you. So things might work better for you than they do for me, based on where I want to go.
So you're telling us God's reacting to you according to what you said you wanted, and not giving you things that are not going to get you to what you wanted. So
there have been so many times in my life where I've been upset about what's happened, and years later I get this message in my head of why I needed to go through it, and it was based on a prayer. And I prayed for this. God gave me exactly what I prayed for.
Oh, yeah,
it's just not the way that I thought, and it really, really hurts to have it answered.
But you're glad you went through it?
But I'm glad finally I did it. It's like, well, I'm better off for it. But man, it was torturous.
So to fast forward now to now, these are just touching on briefly what we learned and what we've processed through all of these health issues. And it's really developed a lot of patience and understanding of God's way of working with us to develop us. These chronic conditions continued with the symptoms, and they were manageable. We learned to deal with them, like all of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. And then Katrina tells me a week ago that her hair's falling out. And then I go, oh boy, that's not normal for a woman. That's not good. That's really embarrassing for a woman. All right, I don't like the sound of that. I hope that's temporary and we can find a solution for that. Pray about it, and then we move on. And then on the weekend, she tells me that all the talks we had that we were just mentioning before about all of this change and deep intensity after we got out of the hospital, she doesn't remember a week that we talked about all of these intense issues and all these things were going to change and some plans we came up with and decisions we came to. She says, I don't remember any of that. I remember what we talked, but I don't remember what we talked about. And I was like, wow. I mean, I made some great progress, and she wasn't giving me credit for the progress, so that hurt. Like I came to some enlightenment on things that she was waiting for. So I was like, oh, all of that work. But more so I was concerned for her I was already concerned about her, but now I felt like this is getting really serious. She's almost losing her mind in a way that she can't remember things that she
even
said.
Important things, because those are important things. I work through those things all the time, and they're meaningful when we go through them. So when I can't remember them,
that's our whole ministry is almost, you could say, is based on those type of insights and developments and lessons that we then carry on to you in messages like this. So we kind of have to recall for this whole thing to work, right? So when I heard that, I shared it with the fellowship on Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday.
My mom was not happy.
Yeah, your mom was not happy, and the next day we're saying, well, what do you want to do, Katrina? This is really serious. Should we go to a doctor? No, I don't feel like that's it.
I will go to the doctor. If I feel led by Father to go, I will. I'm not against going to doctors. I just don't go on a whim, because they can help some things and can't help other things, and you're wasting your money if that's not the direction Father wants me to go in. They're
going to prescribe a drug most likely, and they're not naturopaths. We don't know any here. We're kind of new still, and we don't have, the special doctors that you learn when you've been in an area for a while, that these are the good ones that are kind of lenient and understand that allopathic medicine's got not the full answer, and they kind of moonlight in other things.
I've looked, I've searched, I can't find them here. I can't find them.
So the doctor was not resonating for her, and throwing lots of money with, we talked about this in another podcast, Life Plus supplements. We were talking about that. Can't afford it though. It's multi-level. Great stuff. It helped us in some ways, but we just can't afford as missionaries to stay on that. So that wasn't it. And so we're just, God, you know the answer to this. But the point is, I came to this point of, God, this is now unacceptable. Like I just explained, we can't do this ministry if Katrina's losing her memory, can't teach what she's learning and what I'm learning. And now I'm basically going to become a nurse to my wife who can't remember anything. It's almost like an Alzheimer's is the scenario I projected in my head. So I got really clear. It wasn't that I wasn't concerned before and I wasn't serious before, but it shifted just like it did for my colitis to say, okay, God, this is now no longer acceptable. You need to step in now. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just declaring I see that the Pharaoh's armies are behind us and there's no place to go. The walls are on the left and right, and there's a sea in front of us. There's nothing we can do here, and we need you to save us because we can't move forward. Literally. You don't say the Red Sea has to split, right? You don't know that's the answer.
Right.
You just say, you got to do something. You can touch Katrina. Like I said, that's what I said in the prayer.
Divine healing.
You can just heal Katrina right now. You have many other ways you can heal her. You can fix this situation. So that's what I prayed for a couple of days.
And I'm annoyingly calm because I've learned struggle doesn't work with God. Yeah. Not with me, ever.
Your reaction was really interesting and good, that I offered all these options to you and you just didn't see any of them, and you just weren't going to do what you did in the past, right?
Right. I'm not going to try to save myself. I'm not going to try to guilt my husband.
Throw money at it. I'm not going to try to figure it out on my own strength or feel like I've got such a fire that I can't be saved, when I know that that's actually true, but I can't save myself. And so I said to Tim, I trust God has the answer. I don't know what it is, but I trust him. And Tim was actually asking, well, what do you think of this and this and this? And I went, I don't have an answer on any of those things. I just know that God is going to show up, and I'm going to be calm and wait for something to come. Mm-hmm. I don't have the answer. Instead of saying, because we had options that we could probably try, but financially to be able to support them for an extended period of time is another thing, especially after just having our son in the hospital. So that was the prayer for a couple days, Monday and Tuesday. And then we were talking further about it on Tuesday. And I had an inspiration that morning that it was weird. I had these ideas about my birthday coming up and what's God going to do for my birthday, because he definitely gave me a clear idea that something special was coming up, maybe like a present. I've had presents from God on my birthday before. And I said to myself in bed, trying to get back to sleep with my thyroid, sleep issues, I said, what if God gave me a healing for my birthday for one time, for one person? What would I do with it? Would I heal myself? Would I heal Zachary? And I immediately thought, no, I would give it to Katrina, because if she's not working well, then I can't take care of Zachary alone, and I can't take care of her and Zachary. I'm doing okay. I'm managing with my issue. I don't like it, but she's the one that would get the healing. So that was my decision in my head. We started talking, and then Katrina says, well, let's see what else. What did you say at that point?
I said, well, I can't think of anything, but is there anybody that has contacted you, any supporters that have contacted you that possibly have come up with ideas? Because many times we do get people saying, well, of course, whenever
during Zachary's hospital stay,
you make something public, everybody has something that they share that could be possibilities, and some of them are impossible because either they're in other countries and you can't import things, or they're too expensive, we just can't touch it,
or they're just quackery.
Right. But I figured, well, maybe there's something there that we're missing. Do you know of anybody that's offered?
There's a kind man in the UK who was a doctor, who was helping us with ideas for Zachary. So what she was saying made perfect sense. I was thinking, maybe we can contact that guy. So then after that discussion, I had the thought that, well, wait a minute. I had a reader who had offered to help me with supplements that his company created. And he had offered to help me, hearing in the podcast about my thyroid issues and how we were spending money on supplements that we couldn't continue to do for me and Zachary. He had offered to help me and Zachary. It went as far as to have the company naturopath contact me, but it took a while until we were in the hospital with Zachary in February before he contacted me. And then I said to him, I'm sorry, I can't even look at this right now. I've got a crisis on my hands. So I forgot about it, honestly, because of that whole thing, until that day. And I said, well, of course, they had offered to help. And I'm sure if I say, just this is the situation, Katrina's going downhill fast, she's the one that needs the help. Can we please help her instead of me? Just like I had that inspiration that day. And long story short, I contacted them. They said, no, we'll help your whole family. We know how to get the supplements into Germany, and just fill out the questionnaires and we're going to get the supplements to you to help you. And I had checked out the supplement website. They have a podcast. It's just amazing philosophy. And the man that's designed the formulas is like a genius. You listen to him. He's cured a lot of autoimmune. His autoimmune and adrenal fatigue are two of his specialties, which, other people haven't, allopathic doctors have no clues on these things generally. So we're in talks with them to work on getting a program for us and getting these to us, and they're going to cover the costs. And I really feel in my spirit that this is it. After 3 decades for both of us of struggling with these chronic issues, that God finally split the Red Sea through these readers that have this heart to help us.
And I feel really good because I feel like I didn't struggle like in the past. I didn't get all scared and try to do those scare tactics when you're scared to try to fix it. I just said, God's going to show up and he's going to tell us what to do. And I teach this a lot, that when you stay calm, then you can hear little whispers of ideas to come along that may be coming from God. And if you start getting all scared and upset and working yourself up and then start blaming yourself in guilt or guilting other people or start fighting, then you're using all the energy to outsource your emotions instead of using the energy to hear. So I'm really glad about that. The other thing that I want to say is I knew that I had problems with my memory for a while, and I shared it with Tim. I guess it just didn't, come to a head to be able to see the difference as much until recently. But Tim had to take about 5 minutes worth of ums and ahs out of our podcasts because as you can see, I'm speaking slower because my processing to say things is slower. So I've learned now that the ums and ahs are in there. And a girlfriend tonight, I hadn't told her anything about it, but we were talking to her today. And she noticed, she said she was worried because she heard me talking a lot with ums and ahs and she knew something was wrong with me. Oh. She said that. Yeah. And I went, everybody kind of sees it, but there's not much you can do about it. So that's why actually the last podcast that I did, you'll find me speaking different. and speaking slower
The last
to not do ums and ahs.
on the last on the neuropath one of these, yeah.
But I have to pay attention and I have to go slower because I'm processing slower.
Yeah. So the supplements will help with that as your brain clears up and your adrenals are better. So
Right.
yeah, it's so important to stay slow, like you said. Not get your mind on your spouse being bad or the world being bad or this sucks or God is not good for some reason because you're complaining and he's not really providing your needs. We had to go through, it takes years to break those habits that you're out of control and to say, but that's okay because God's in control. For me, seeing that God was in control of my finances and there was clear signs he was lowering my income and stopping my efforts to increase my income. And I talked about that in a previous podcast for supporters. I saw that the same thing is happening with our health, that he knows, when I make that prayer of faith that you must heal me now, this is time, because I knew from the signs, not because God must do what I say or there's promises that he has to keep. I was reading the signs on the wall, the writing on the wall. It's time for my colitis to be done. I can't function like this. And once you get to that point, God does respond.
Well, I think God responds if you have gone to a place and got honest with him about if you trust him or not.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very hard to trust an invisible God. We've talked about that before. And so you come straight up against, okay, now I cannot save myself. Really, no one else can save me. And I might have a God to save me, maybe, but I don't know if I can trust him or not, or if I should just be offended because he allowed me to get to this place. We have to get to those trust issues towards God at that point and say, God, I choose to trust you. I have a problem with trusting you. You're invisible, and I'm not sure you're 100% good. That's when you have to come to that point. So I don't think it works unless you then come to that point as well.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to, that you go through all those blaming everybody and instead of realizing, wait a minute, he's controlling these health trials. He knows I need healing eventually to function and do his will. So he's going to end this when I've learned well and good what I'm to learn from this, and I'm not going to complain. I'm going to trust him.
Yeah.
And then the end comes, more or less.
Exactly.
So that's where I think we got to finally.
So it's praise report. Another thing that we've gone through that's difficult, and we're still going through, and yet we go in faith and keep going.
Yeah. Thank you for you readers that hear us and feel moved by God and act on it and help us.
It helps. Thank you.
You're making testimonies with us.
And we just come in compassion and want to pray for you as well, that answers come, that you have peace, shalom, while you find the answers, financial and physical as well. And know that Daddy is kind and good, and he will help you. If you ask him, he will help you as soon as you start asking. It just may not come as fast or in the way that you think, but he's there for you.
That's right. That's our testimony.
That's our
sticking
testimony.
to it.
I'm sticking to it. To my death, I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
Or until Christ comes. I think that's going to come first, but hey.
I think so too. Okay, so I hope this has blessed you and helped you, and we just know God is good, and we're going to keep carrying on that message with you.
Yes. Praise be to him. Bye, everyone.
Bye.